All right, now it's a recording. So we will continue to talk about triangles, okay? And we've talked about yesterday and the day before. We have talked about triangle angle sum theorem, which states that angle A plus angle B plus angle C, that's 180, equal to 180. If you add any triangle, if you add all three interior angles, it is always going to be 180, okay? And then we also did exterior angle theorem. Okay, I'm not going to talk about that for now. And then yesterday, we did talk about triangle inequality theorem. Do you guys remember that? I'm not going to do this today. It's the skewer example, okay? You can't create triangle. If you have a three numbers, it does not always work out to make up a triangle. For example, like this one, you can't create triangle. If you have a three sticks, would you be able to make a triangle always? The answer is no. Like this one, I'm not able to create triangles, right? And so we did talk about that. What's the requirement for a triangle to be triangle? Okay, um, what condition needs to be met, and that's what the inequality theorem is. Today we are going to talk about two things. So let's start your notes from here. Okay, we're going to talk about an isosceles triangle and equilateral triangle. Those are two specific triangles that come up in lots of geometry problems, even in like a state assessment test, and even in SAT, ACT, those are college entrance exams. Okay, and so it's pretty good to know. Okay, so first of all, so I would like you to copy this down. So it's a bit of a writing to do, but I hope you don't mind that. Okay, I think it's important that you write this down. First of all, isosceles triangle is a triangle with two equal sides. If you have two equal sides of a triangle, two sides of the triangles are equal, then it's called an isosceles triangle. Okay. Let me give you just 2 minutes to just write down all the descriptions, and then we will, or properties. Okay. In isosceles triangle, I want to talk about three properties of isosceles triangle. So those are that 1, 2, 3. But please write it down right now. And then equilateral triangle, it has only one property, okay, that I would like to talk about. So let me give you 2 minutes, okay, and then I will explain what that means. Maybe some of them are pretty obvious to you. Maybe some of them might not be. Let's take a look. Let's make it bigger. Somebody just came in. Hey, Daviana, it's good to see you. We are just copy down the notes right now. So if you can get yourself ready for that, that'll be good. So we are copying this part down, okay? Okay, how is everybody doing on that? It's been about 2 minutes. Does anybody need any more time? Sorry. All right, let's get started. Okay, let me explain the first thing. So again, what is isosceles triangle? It's a triangle with the two sides the same. You see those slash or dash dash? That means those two sides are equal in length or congruent. Okay, so that's what isosceles triangle is. If you see something like that, that's an isosceles triangle. Sometimes isosceles triangle is drawn on its side like this, okay? But it's still an isosceles triangle, okay? So as long as two sides are equal, that's an isosceles triangle. Next, there's the first property right here. Base, if you have an isosceles triangle, then base angles are also congruent. They're the same. In other words, so this first property, I show that in the picture, if you have an isosceles triangle, these bottom two angles are going to be the same. If this is 70, if angle A is 70 degrees, then what do you think angle C is going to be? It's going to be 70. If angle A is 80 degree, then angle C is also 80 degree. Does that make sense? Okay, they are equal. Okay, so that's property number one. Okay. Next one is, it's got a little bit of maybe new terminology. Okay, the word is that I'm talking about is bisect. Now, what does that mean? If you bisect basically means you slash them right in half, right in the middle, two equal parts. And that's what bisecting means. Okay, so it says if you bisect the top angle, then it will also bisect the bottom side. Does that make sense? Can you picture that? So I'm going to do this. If I bisect the top angle, which is this one right here, B. So if I'm going to cut, just imagine Mr. Takara swinging the sword, samurai sword, right? And then I'm going to chop it right in half. If I cut it, the top angle in half, that means this angle and this angle are now equal. Then this line will also cut the bottom side in half as well. That means this side and this side is going to be equal to. And that's property number two. It doesn't happen to all the triangles, okay? For example, let's say if you have a right triangle, if you cut it in half, Would, would that cut the bottom side in half too? Don't think it does. Yeah. If you cut the angle in half, do you think this will cut the bottom side in half as well? And it does. But if you have an isosceles triangle, if you cut it, the top in half, then the bottom is also going to be equal to each other. Okay? We'll cut in half. All right, that's the property number 2. Property number 3. If the base angles are congruent, then the two sides are also congruent. Meaning this, it's kind of like a reverse of isosceles triangle definition. Isosceles triangle is that two sides are equal, right? But what number 3 is saying is, if the bottom angles are the same to begin with, okay, let's say you don't know whether it's an isosceles triangle. It is saying is that if bottom sides are equal, okay, then the triangle, two sides are also going to be equal. Okay, it's kind of like a reverse of number 1. Number 1 is if triangle is an isosceles triangle, meaning if you two sides are the same, then bottom sides are equal, right? And that's what the other property number 1. Property number 3 is the reverse of property number 1. If bottom angles are the same, then you know that two sides are also going to be equal to each other, meaning that it is going to be in an isosceles triangle if bottom angles are the same. Does that make sense? So always the reverses are all true for isosceles triangle, okay, in this case. Sometimes the math rule, the reverse is not true sometimes, okay? But in this case, it is true. Like, I mean, this is not a math rule, but if it rains, the ground get wet, right? But if you reverse that, if the ground is wet, it rains, it has rained. Is that true? Right? The reverse is not always true. Well, no, maybe somebody could have watered it, right? So you don't know that. But in this case, both way is all true. Okay. All right. So this is an isosceles triangle, and the other one is equilateral triangle. Okay. An equilateral triangle means that all three sides are congruent. Okay. It's the what you might call a perfect triangle. All sides are all equal. Now, there's one property that it's important to know, and that is all the interior angles, right here, right here, right here, it has to be 60 degrees. Why? Well, meaning that they're all going to be equal, okay? All interior angles are congruent. All the inside angles are the same. Well, the sum has to be 180. So if you divide 180 by 3, it's 60, isn't it? So this one is 60, this one is 60, this one is 60. It's always true. And the reverse actually is the same. If all the angles are 60 degrees, then it is equilateral triangle. All the sides are also going to be the same too. I guess we could add that, but so that again, the reverse of number one is also true. If the interior angles are all the same, 60 degrees, then all the sides are also going to be the same. Okay. So those are just two things: isosceles triangle, equilateral triangle. It is going to come up over and over, even maybe not in algebra 2. Well, some of the yes, algebra 2. We do talk about some of those triangle properties. So it's good to know. Okay. Now let's do the assignment. Well, not the assignment, the examples. I just have 3 of them. Okay. Number 1, solve for x and y. Okay. So let's try that. Now, before we try to figure out x and y, can everybody tell me which type of what the name of the triangle for example number 1? What is the name of the triangle? It is, you see the marking. Very good. Thank you, Stephanie. You can see the marking there. That means that these two sides are the same. And so it is isosceles. Can you guys spell isosceles? It took me a while to remember it. Isosceles triangle. Okay. So what do you know about the bottom 2 angles? They are, bottom 2 angles are the same. So what do you think x is going to be? X is 46. You don't really have to do anything because this side is 46. That means this side is also going to be 46. And if x is a 46, what is y? How do you find y? Now you can figure out with an angle sum theorem, right? The total of all the 3 angles is always 180, right? So let's do 46 plus 46. That's, what is that? 92. And then you're going to subtract that 92 from 180. Then that's going to be the angle y, which is, what is that? 88. So y equals 88. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, let's work on example number 2. First, which triangle is it? Equilateral or isosceles? This one, you see the marking, 3 markings. So it better be equilateral triangle. Okay. Now we need to solve for x, and it's about the angle measurement. What do you know about the angle measurements of equilateral triangle? What did we talk about? We know that equilateral triangle, each angle is all going to be 60 degrees. So let's solve for x. this 6x right here has to be equal to 60. Now can you solve for x? Divide by 6. Divide by 6. X equals 60 divided by 6, 10. How are you doing so far? Is it making sense to you guys? To you? Okay. Number 3. This is the last example, and then we'll do the assignment together, okay? Now, before we, every question that you do, you have to know whether it's going to be isosceles triangle or equilateral triangle. Which one is it? This one. You see that the two angles are the same. They are the same, and that's what that means. And that's an equilateral triangle, isn't it? No, isosceles triangle, right? It's the isosceles triangle, but it's on the side. So it's tipped, okay? And it's on its side, okay? Sideways. Now, what do you know about if you know the two bottom angles? I'm going to call them bottom angles. So if two bottom angles are the same, what do you know? We have the property, right? It says it's this one right here. If base angles are the same, then what? We know that two sides are the same, right? That's what the property number 3 is. So we're going to rely on that. So if two bottom angles are the same, that means these two sides are the same, congruent. In other words, this is equal to that. 2x plus 6 has to be equal to 3x minus 6. They're equal. That's what the isosceles triangle is, right? So let's solve for x. What would you do first? We've got x's on both sides of equal sign. You've got 3x on the right side, 2x. Let's get rid of one of the x's. Which one? You want to get rid of the smaller x, right? Subtract 2x, subtract 2x. That is gone. So let's rewrite it. 6 equals, what do we have? It's a 1x, right? But I'm not going to write 1. If it's a 1x means just x, right? So x minus 6. And what do you do? Just one more step. Let's add 6 on both sides. And that's gone. So x equals 12. Is everybody good? So these are the type of questions you're going to be looking at for the assignment, quiz, and the test. Okay. So let's just jump right into the assignment. Okay. Does anybody need more time to write down any part of the notes so far? Is everybody okay? All right, let's work on the assignment. You have to let me know, okay? If I'm going too fast, if you have any questions, just type it in the chat. So here it is, the assignment 3.3. So please write that down. Homeworks 3.3. You guys are ready for number one? I'm going to let you think about this, the number one. Okay. What do you think X is going to be? Yeah, we are going to do all the problems. There are only 9 of them, and some of them are pretty straightforward. So, and we definitely have time for all of them. So, does anybody have solve for X? Now, what do you need? I mean, we can set up an equation, but let's just kind of think about this. Okay. This isn't an isosceles triangle, right? You've got two sides equal. So what do you know? What do you know about the bottom two angles? They are going to be the same. Very good, Lawrence. So let's say you've got top angle is 40. So let's subtract 40 from 180 and you get 140, right? That means these two angles combined should be 140. Does that make sense? In other words, you have to divide 140 by 2. You have to split 140 equally because bottom angles are the same. Okay? So that will give you 70 degrees. Does that make sense? So x equals 70. So this is 70, and this one is also 70, and this one is a 40. And if you add all of them up, it becomes 180 degrees. Any triangle, even including isosceles triangle, equilateral triangle, no matter what, A plus B plus C is always 180, okay? Number two, if you recognize it, you don't need to do anything. The answer is right there. What is X? It's kind of even silly to be asking this question, but maybe you're not quite seeing it. Do you guys all see that? What is X? X is going to be 75. You don't need to do anything because why? How do I know? Because this angle is 75. So what's the other bottom angle? Bottom angles are always the same, right? So it's 75. Same thing. I don't know why I put the same kind of question. Number three, what is y going to be? Everybody type in the answer. So I know that you're listening. What is y for number three? Thank you, Oliver. All right, thank you. Anybody else? Very good. Janella, Stephanie, anybody else? All right, thank you. It is 50. Right? Again, bottom angles are equal to each other. So you don't have to do anything. Okay. Number four. Now, what kind of triangle is it? It is an isosceles triangle. Okay. I'm going to let you work on it. Oh, and if you have solved for y, please share that in the chat. Let's give 1 minute. Very good. Yeah, if I ask you for x and y, then yeah, you solve for x and y, all of them. Yeah. Okay, let's go over. This is again an isosceles triangle. Isosceles triangle on its side. Yeah, it's sideways. That means these are the bottom angles, right? That we are calling. Those are bottom angles, and that these two sides are equal to each other. Okay, yeah, that'll be fine. So y plus 4 should be equal to 15. They are equal to each other. Okay, and so you subtract 4 on both sides. So y equals 12. Okay, did you get that? Number 5. Let me give you another, again, 1 minute. Solve for x. Oh, that's a good question. No. So the question is, well, there's a question in the chat. Now, what we solved is y. Y is 12, right? That means this y is 12. And that makes sense. 12 plus 4 is 16 because we just solved that this y is 12. In other words, this length are equal, and this is a 16, and this has to be also 16, right? So y has to be 12 to be 16, okay? Because 12 plus 4 is 16. But we don't know anything about the bottom angles. We will not be able to figure out on this triangle. It is about the side of the triangle. So we don't know anything about the angle measurement. That's a good question. Okay, let's talk about number 5. This is equilateral triangle. So what do you know about this side and this side? And as a matter of fact, this side. They are all equal to each other. They are all same length. So the equation should be, that means that this side and this side are the same. 3x has to be equal to 2x plus 10. Does that make sense? Hey, Luke, glad you made it. Okay, we are working on the assignment, working on number 5. So, but I will be uploading the video after this class, and so please watch the earlier part of the class today. Okay, so let's solve the equation. Subtract 2x on both sides, and that's all you need to do, isn't it? You get 1x, or x equals 10. Then that's it. And if you plug in 10 back into x, that makes sense because 3 times 10 is 30, right? And then 2 times 10 is 20. 20 plus 10 is 30. Yeah, because that means this length is 30. This length is 30. And this length is also 32 because it is an equilateral triangle. Okay. Next question, number 6. How would you set up an equation? I'll give you 1 minute. Please ask any questions that you have. If I'm going too fast, if you need to see part of the notes again, just let me know. It is going to be yes. Brandon, nice job. Anybody else? Would you share the solution for number 6? Very good. It is back to isosceles triangle because you see that bottom 2 angles are the same. That means, again, these 2 sides are equal to each other. Okay, this side and this side are equal to each other for isosceles triangle. So you got 7x plus 5 has to be equal to 19. And then you're going to solve that. Subtract 5, subtract 5. 7x equals 14. Divide by 7. Divide by 7. X equals 2. Okay. All right. Number 7. Why don't you work on that? 1 minute. And please, will you guys all share the solution for number 7 once you're done? Anybody? Does anybody have have answer for number 7? Okay, very good. Okay, excellent. Very good. Excellent, Nick. So I'm going to reiterate what he's saying. If this is 30, what do you know about angle C? Angle C has to be also 30 as well because it is an isosceles triangle. Isosceles triangle has bottom two angles the same. So it has to be 30. If this is 30 and this is 30, what's the top? Well, so 30 plus 30 is 60. So all you have to do is just subtract 60 from 180, isn't it? And then you get 120. Okay? So x equals 120. Okay, number 8. You guys, we are almost done. Hang in there. Just 2 more questions. Okay, 1 minute. What do you know about this side? It's about the side, right? This side and this side. This is, do you see the marking right there? It means they are equal. They are the same length. So how do you set up an equation? And let's see. It will be 4, yes. Very good. Did you get y equals 4 by any chance? Anybody? So let's set up an equation. Very good. Great job. So they are equal to each other. So you're going to set 4y minus 3 equals 2y plus 5. And we're going to solve that. We've got y on the left side, y on the right side. Let's get rid of the smaller y, 2y. So you subtract both sides. So now you've got 2y minus 3 equals, and that's gone, 5. Everybody follows that? Now let's add 3, 2y equals 8. And then what do? Divide by 2. Divide by 2. So y equals 4. Very good. Last question, number 9. I'm gonna let you think about this. I don't know if you see it, what to do. Okay. Only thing that you know is that angle. Okay, we are talking about angle here. This angle is 2x plus 32. What is x? How do you set up an equation? Okay, so that was a timer, by the way. So I'll change the ringtone. So how did you set up? Does anybody have the answer for number 9? Nobody? Now, what type of triangle is this? What's the name of the triangle? It is an equilateral triangle. How do you know that? You've got the marking, right? 3 sides. All 3 sides are the same. That means it has to be an equilateral triangle. Now let's check the equilateral triangle again. What do you remember about equilateral triangle? Right here, who makes me dizzy. What do you know about the angle measurements? Each angle has to be 60 degrees. Interior angles are congruent and they are all 60 degrees each. 60, 60, 60. That's equilateral triangle. So what is this angle measurement? It has to be 60. In other words, your equation should be 2x plus 32 should be equal to 60. Yeah, does that make sense? Very good. And now let's finish. If you haven't solved this yet, let's solve this right now. What do you do next? You help me, guys. What do you do? Subtract 32. Is that what you did? So you've got 2x equals, what do we get? 28. Then divide by 2. Divide by 2. So x equals 14. Very good. Yeah. How do you guys feel about this equilateral triangle, isosceles triangle? Scale of 1 to 5. Where are you guys? I've got this. Maybe 4. Anybody feeling like a 3 or even lower than that? You guys all good? Okay. Again, as I said, very good. Very good. As I said before at the beginning of the class, please take Unit 2 test. The longer you wait, it gets harder and harder, isn't it? Because you're now starting to forget things. If you feel like you've forgotten things, please go to the modules, Canvas modules on the top. There's a bunch of a list of the videos, recordings, and in it, pick the Unit 2 review video, and that will cover pretty much everything, right? So please watch that video, go through a couple of questions just to help you remind yourself what chapter 2 was about. And then again, please take care of a Unit 2 test as soon as possible. For tomorrow, that's a great question, Janella. Tomorrow we will do some review. I will not be introducing any new materials, but we'll do some review, and then we'll do a little quiz. Okay, it's that regular, normal 5-point quiz. And so we will do that tomorrow, and that will be it for this week. Okay. So this is all I have for today. If you need any help on any previous sections or today's or whatever, please stay in class and I will be happy to talk to you. Otherwise, you guys have a great day. Make sure to turn this assignment in. Okay. Have a great day, guys.